since we were talking about fake news, this is going to come up because it's been going on since we've been recording here. Elon and Trump seem to be in a bit of a spat. Joe, you want to check the tweet that Elon just put out a little bit ago?
Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation
What
between
is he?
Elon
Have a
and Trump.
nice day, DJD. Someone should take his phone away.
They're going back and forth about different things. And
Yeah. Listen,
Well, he said he was disappointed in Elon.
yeah,
Yeah.
they told him to leave.
Jesus Christ, that's a crazy thing to say. How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Or does he have access to the Epstein files?
The vanguard will be there, sir.
Wild timing, Zach, because obviously we talked about this a little bit. We got Sam Cedar's first ever reaction to it. It's since been deleted, but obviously this big bombshell dropped from Elon Musk. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald Trump. And again, obviously this has been deleted. Obviously, it's also not surprising to us to hear this, but despite the fact that they claim to care the most about conspiracies, people like Joe Rogan, people like Theo Vaughn have been kind of conveniently ignoring this elephant in the room, right? That Donald Trump is obviously in the fucking Epstein files, that there's no denying the fact he was associated with Epstein, even after it was common knowledge that Epstein was a child sex predator. So this is a big elephant in the room. And for that reason, again, even though it's obvious to us, I took great delight in watching both Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan having to confront this fact live on air. Basically, both of them seemingly as it dropped. They didn't even really have time to get a response prepared, a reaction prepared and in order. They did just kind of have to figure out how to deal with this live as it scrolled across their timelines for the first time, which again made for some glorious moments, one of which included JD Vance himself, who, according to him, also was just finding out about this for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just shows how unorganized and chaotic the entire apparatus of the West Wing is at this point. And really just the fact that they are having a full-on crash out, right? Like Elon Musk is crashing out. He was pissed at Donald Trump. He set their relationship on fire. And now he's fucked because Donald Trump is still the president of the United States and he doesn't need Elon Musk anymore. So he's continuing to crash out. So you have different camps that are emerging afterwards. So like Elon Musk is on a lonely island right now with like him and Ian Miles Chung because that's who he pays to support him every single day on Twitter. Everybody else is like, which side of the aisle do I go on? Probably going to go with Donald Trump on that side of the aisle. But I don't know. I think a lot of people were also still leaving the door open for Elon Musk and Trump to get back together, which I actually think is not going to happen anymore.
I will say Trump is really fucking lucky that like a week before Elon drops this bomb about him being in the Epstein files, what report was published literally a week before about how Elon Musk is on 20 different drugs and he's out of his fucking... Either way, let's move on to Joe Rogan, another total idiot who squandered another insane opportunity for a podcaster. Again, any podcaster, but specifically someone who claims to care about government conspiracies and, you know, powerful people doing shady things, Jeffrey Epstein. Again, Joe Rogan, even more so than Theo Vaughn, honestly, way more so, claims to care about this stuff, right? Joe Rogan has always talked about the Epstein stuff, conspiracies in general. He's always been interested in that. Again, imagine you have the fucking director of the FBI, Kash Patel, who again is a total embarrassment, a complete fucking idiot clown. But imagine you have that guy on your show the day of or the day after this bombshell drops, and this is how you treat it.
Old Rogan would have asked. Joe Rogan 10 years ago asked this question 100%. He presses it. He cares about it. He wants to know about it. He doesn't let you off the hook. He, jaws onto it and really tries to pry out some information. I genuinely believe that. Yeah. Because you're totally right. One of the reasons I think we both got really into the Rogan podcast when we were teenagers was because he would talk about conspiracies and shit, and not in a way that was cringy and problematic and hateful, but was like genuinely curious and like kind of stoner fun. Like everybody could kind of tell that it was a joke and that he was like being silly and, oh, was Santa Claus a mushroom? Like, is that why we have Santa? Like that kind of stuff. You're like, well, I think actually stoned ape theory might be real, dude. We took a bunch of mushrooms and that's how we learned to talk. Like, obviously that's not how we learn to fucking talk, but it's cool to think about that kind of harmless shit. He's always been into looking for Sasquatch. How did Kennedy get killed? These were harmless things, the moon landing, that everybody could have fun listening to Joe Rogan talk about back in the day. And he slowly but surely backed away from that and just drank the Kool-Aid. Like he Jim Jonesed himself. You know what I mean? Like he just fucking bought it all, hook, line, and sinker. And now he just like stands there wide-eyed at somebody feeding him the most obvious line of bullshit. And he just takes it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's take a look.
A new kid who's like, oh, I maybe want to join the FBI. And they're going to look at it and say, this place is a circus. I don't want to go work there.
Right.
What do you mean they disrupted the morning meeting? That guy should be getting briefed 6 hours a day.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I want my agents on mission. I don't need them briefing me. I can call them. I can talk to them later. And so it's just stuff like that.
Since we were talking about fake news, this is going to come up because it's been going on since we've been recording here. Elon and Trump seem to be in a bit of a spat, Joe. You want to check the tweet that Elon just put out a little bit ago?
Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation
What is
between
he?
Elon
Have a
and Trump.
nice day, DJD. Someone should take his phone away.
They're going back and forth about different things. And
Yeah. Listen,
Well, he said he was disappointed in Elon.
yeah,
Yeah.
they told him to leave.
Jesus Christ, that's a crazy thing to say. How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? I mean, does he have access to the Epstein files?
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump Elon thing. That's way outside
What
my
the
lane.
fuck are they doing?
I know my lane, and that ain't it.
I just don't. I mean, I understand he owns Twitter. I think it's bad for your mental health.
Can we
I
pause
think
it?
posting things public all day and arguing.
Bad for your mental
How
health.
are you the head of the FBI or whatever the fuck, and it's not your business if the president is a pedophile? That's my first follow-up. Not, oh, I wonder if Elon's all right. Somebody should take his phone. I think it's pretty bad for your mental health. I know he sells chocolate bars, but chocolate bars aren't healthy. Oh. Like what? No, follow up and be like, how the hell isn't this your business? Like you don't know when the president is indicted in crimes. You don't have a way of finding that out. You don't have a way of knowing if the president, like you can't, you're telling me that you can't look me in the eyes and deny that our president that you serve, that you claim loyalty to is not a pedophile. You're not prepared to do that on national television because you think there's a chance that he might be a pedophile. Is that what you're saying? You know?
Yeah, it's genuinely insane. He just heard for the first time that Elon Musk, this is, Joe Rogan just heard that Elon Musk, someone who he claims in the past to be one of the smartest people, just on a whole nother level of intelligence. He just heard the revelation from that person that the president of the United States, Donald Trump, is a Jeffrey Epstein associated pedophile in the files. And his reaction, Joe Rogan's reaction is, yeah, social media is really bad for your mental health, bro. Like, that's fucking crazy. And then obviously Kash Patel saying right there, I know my lane. I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm the head of the FBI, but can't comment on this. What? What the fuck? Like, I genuinely can't believe where we're at with any of this, Zach. It's so wild that we're just watching this. We have this video to react to of not only Joe Rogan falling apart in such a crazy way, but the fucking director of the FBI embarrassing himself and this country in just such a insane fashion.
It is unthinkable that he should be able to get away with a lie like that. This is 1,000,000% your business is the response. You have an obligation. Like Joe Rogan has caused so much turmoil. He has amplified so much hateful rhetoric towards the LGBTQ community. He has raised way too many fucking like, oh, I'm just a regular guy asking questions about shit over and over and over again to create a negative air around trans people, antagonize trans people, make the trans people in sports his number one issue, etc. Right? All under the guise of, oh, I care about groomers. Oh, all under the guise of, I'm looking out for kids. I've got kids. I got to look out for kids. I hate groomers. Oh, once you have a kid, you'll know that anybody who ever hurts a child is insane. Like you can never be around them. Bro, you are not going to ask if Donald Trump, a man you've been in contact with, shaking his hand, his number one donor, the richest man in the world, and somebody that you've gone to bat for multiple times on your show, that you've said you trust, that you said is a friend of yours, that you smoked blunts with and really like did a lot to elevate his public profile a few years ago. And ever since then, you guys have been like peas in a pod, right? Okay, well, if that guy says something and he is your boy like you've been pretending he is, then you might think it has some weight. You should at least follow up and ask the FBI director, hey, man, this is a huge crime in our country. What do you mean that's not your job?
Yeah, 100%. It's genuinely crazy. And again, they just entrusted this dude with all this power. It's not like, oh, it's just some random dude who knew Trump once and gave him some money. No, they just gave him all this power. So they can't come out here and say he's a totally discredited idiot. That would be an insane admission that they just appointed a totally unhinged idiot to a very high position of power and let him do a bunch of insane shit. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Let's take this in one more time.
Leave.
Jesus Christ, that's a crazy thing to say. How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? I mean, does he have access to the Epstein files?
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump Elon thing. That's way outside my lane.
What the fuck are they doing?
I know my lane, and that ain't it.
I just don't.
Also, it's not to sound like Sagar, but why is this dude wearing like a fucking like running hoodie? Like he looks like he's wearing like a sweatshirt of something. I'm like, bro, put on a fucking suit. You're the director of the FBI. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand he owns Twitter. I think it's bad for your mental health. I think posting things public all day and arguing with people all day is bad for you.
Well, you raise a great point. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Half of what we have to respond to is the click army on social media.
Right.
Right.
And 50% of that plus is bots.
50% of that plus is bots. But
Wait,
let's take the other 50%.
I thought his buddy Elon was getting rid of all the bots. That's why he bought it. He bought it to debot it.
Not just on X, the whole internet. It's all bots, bro.
Dead internet, bro.
It's all bots. Which again is, I mean, true, but what the fuck does that have to do with the bombshell revelation that you just fucking were made aware of? Are you kidding me? On the Joe Rogan Experience? That would be like if we got some like crazy revelation about like, oh, like you hear that, you know, Cenk Uygur just fired Anna Kasparian, and then we just moved on like it wasn't worth pausing the whole show to give a proper reaction to. You know, that would be insane. We'd stop the whole show, whatever we were talking about. We'd devote the rest of the show to that. But these guys are already talking about something else. They're talking about bots and mental health, like less than a minute after hearing this. It's crazy. They're just pretending to not care or pretending that, like he's just trolling, bro. Like, obviously, Elon, he's just, you know, being edgy.
I mean, yeah, they're immediately doing damage control. Neither of these guys want to get in trouble, right? Joe Rogan wants to preserve his access to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, right? Those are two high-profile guests that he's had a long working relationship with. He finally got Donald Trump on the podcast. He's had Elon on the podcast a bunch of times, and he's been kissing his ass for years. So I don't think he wants to, set that bridge on fire, right? And these are both really insecure, really narcissistic men that if you say the wrong thing, they're going to snap and they're going to burn the bridge forever. That's what they always do. So you can just see that this is the kind of fealty that they demand. They just demand constant ass kissing, the both of them. And this is what it looks like when two grown men with really, really high profile positions in the world are just still shitting bricks at the thought of getting in trouble from their boss.
Yep, 100%. Also, no, they did not fire Anna. I was just joking. I was saying that as like a hypothetical, like something that would be a crazy news story that we would not just breeze over if it were to happen. But no, just to clarify, that did not happen. But either way, let's take in just a few more seconds of this and then we can move on for sure.
That it's just constantly pushing out information to sell t-shirts or subscriptions or whatever, listen to my show. And then people are like, hey, FBI, why aren't you looking at this thing in Oklahoma? And I'm like, because it's fake. I don't have time for that. And
Right.
and so to your point on like social media does have a great use in terms of me. And so the reason Dan and I don't do a lot of media is because we're the FBI. Like, let our work speak for itself.
Right.
But we have to find the right balance of going to do media and posting on social media the things we're doing and keeping people updated. And so that's the delicate balance we're trying. But what I'm learning is no matter what you do, it doesn't matter. It's going to just completely not make everyone happy. And there's no solve for that.
And again, they're not even going to go back to it. That's it.
Yeah. The only other part of the conversation that I thought was worth reacting to was this insanity, coming from two right-wingers, coming from the MAGA movement, coming from people who supposedly hate wokeness. I thought this was quite an interesting excuse.
What about the video from the island?
Oh, sorry. So you're talking about two different things.
Sorry.
So
he's talking about the video evidence in the Epstein files.
Again, we're going to give you everything we can. And people have to remember, we're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that shit back out there. It's not happening because then he wins. Not doing it. You want to hate me for it? Fine. What? Again,
this man's a feminist, Gavin. That's why he can't comment on the Epstein files. That's why you'll never see them or hear them. It's because he's looking out for the women victims and he doesn't want to re-victimize them.
Oh my God.
Go.
Because of that, we burned all the evidence. We threw it all in the trash. We wouldn't want that evidence getting out there. These women, they'd be so embarrassed if people knew, right? Thank God.
Yeah, to which the entire internet was like, that is an argument that you would use if you never wanted to prosecute a single rape ever. Like, oh gosh, this woman's standing trial, it's going to re-victimize her. Better just let this asshole get away with it so she can forget about it and move on.
Yeah, and that's why, like, you can say, like, Jane Doe or whatever. They have ways to keep people like defendants or whatever, or not defendants, but people that are
Victims.
Victims. Sorry, they have ways to keep them anonymous.
Oh, 100%. Just like in the Diddy trial that they have mentioned throughout this entire exchange.
Yep. The ruse.
Play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
I thought you couldn't comment on that because you just got information from the richest man in the world who was very high up in your own White House saying that Donald Trump, the president, was implicated in that.
If you have access to it.
If I have it, period.
Right.
If I have it.
So,
where else would it be?
right, if you have it.
Right.
But you can't say that you have it
No, we're giving you everything we have.
so far.
Everything we have so far is
Have
the
you guys
universe.
gone over all the video that's available?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. That's what takes so much damn time.
Right.
And
And is there video from the island?
not of what
Again,
you want.
if this was a Democrat FBI director, Joe Rogan and his shithead idiot friends would be grinning and giggling at this excuse and unable to contain themselves with like how funny it was that anyone would think that this is a fucking good excuse for not revealing this information, for not actually doing your goddamn job as the FBI director. Oh, all this, again, Joe Rogan would be laughing at this if it was a Democrat in this position.
Oh, yeah, he would be calling it woke. He would be talking about how this is why nobody can stand liberals. He would talk about, oh, my goodness, the left is getting, they care so much. They say they care so much about women. Well, we got to protect women by putting these guys in jail. That's exactly what they would be saying. And guys like Jeffrey Epstein, guys like Donald Trump, guys like Bill Clinton, guys like Prince Andrew. Yeah, they belong in fucking jail. Okay, they do not deserve to be integrated in a functional society. That's anathema to what it means to feel safe in your community, right? To have assholes like this running around, okay?
And running the show, being in positions of power.
Exactly. Not just being around your community, but actually being able to dictate what is lawful in your community. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, genuinely crazy. It's easy to be like, oh, nothing will shock me anymore from the likes of Joe Rogan and Theo Von, but somehow this still did shock me. I guess just because it's about Epstein, and given the fact that Joe Rogan's been so interested in conspiracies and the Epstein stuff, to have such a non-reaction, to not take the opportunity to really do a fucking ounce of journalism when you have the FBI director on your show, and in Theo Von's case, the vice president, you're just going to breeze over this. You're just going to let them gaslight your audience and kind of paper over it like, oh, Elon's, he's a crazy guy. You should really take a break from Twitter for the sake of your mental health. Isn't that important? He's gay. That's so immature. Like, I can't believe it.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will